Risk is a game made up of strategy and luck, based on your opponent's choices as well as your own tactics and plans. Most people think that there are no steadfast strategies that can optimize your chance of winning, but really, you can play in a certain way to put the odds in your favor. In this video, I will explain how you can win every time by using piece placement, hotspots on the board, dice probabilities, and human psychology to complete world domination. So, here's how you can win Risk every time. Firstly, let's understand the board, and to do so, we need to understand what each continent has to offer, and these have been ranked by easiest to hardest to take over. First, Australia. Being the smallest continent, Australia is a mixed bag. Having only one entrance point, it means it is easily defendable. However, the one problem is that pretty much everyone goes for it. Because of this defendability, you can get an easy 2 troops round. As a result, players spend too many troops trying to take over Australia, only to gain the small amount of extra troops around, after which their other territories are neglected. As well as this, it doesn't offer much attacking possibilities, as there is only one entrance and exit. So, if you're lucky enough to start with territory there, by all means go for it, but just make sure that you don't end up spending too much time to obtain only a few pieces and places, as its advantages are then outweighed. Second, South America. Also having only 4 territories and offering 2 bonus troops and having 2 choke points, surely Australia must be much better. However, being relatively easy to take over, South America offers better options moving forward in the game, as it means you can then move more offensively towards North America as well as Africa. As a result, South America is one of the best continents because of its relative ease to take over, defendability, as well as future game expansions. In fact, it can be played as only having 1 choke point. By putting a large amount of troops on Venezuela, it means opponents are unlikely to attack Brazil, as you can then easily retaliate, therefore allowing you an easier progression into North America. Third, Africa. Offering 3 bonus troops per round, Africa has both advantages but a fair few drawbacks. Once again, it has 3 choke points that can be narrowed down to 1 by putting a large amount of troops on Egypt or North Africa, as you can then easily retaliate. However, despite providing more troops than South America and Australia, both taking control of it and its defendability are still much harder. This is because as the endgame comes around, the 3 general bands of troops being left the Americas, middle as Europe and Africa, and then right as Australia / sort of Asia, tend to put more pressure on the middle, putting Africa at a disadvantage. This is because we can split up the continents, with the top 3 being major and the bottom 3 being minor. That means that in the early game, taking minor continents is a much more viable strategy. However, as you go towards the end game, then expanding to these major continents is the only way to win. Asia is somewhat of an anomaly, as it is generally the absolute end game where people fight to win. Nevertheless, these continents do come up in favourable pairings, with South America and North America being the first, Africa and Europe being the second, and Australia / general territories being a third. This means that you should adapt your playstyle dependent on your opponent's intentions to favour these likings. In general, Australia and South America are probably the best starting continents to go for. Next, Europe and North America. Being the more challenging continents with many open borders, these are harder to play, however, do offer many more bonus troops. However, playing these gets you into a very powerful position on the board and allows you then to expand further on and with more purpose. As a result, being able to control these regions is crucial to winning. Getting territories on these locations early on and controlling the surrounding area is very important, as once you have developed territories and have more troops accessible, you can then start making a push for these continents. Last, Asia. Asia is almost always the endgame for most games of Risk because of how big it actually is. This means you pretty much have to take Australia as well as Asia when doing so to reduce the many choke points available. You want to make a move for Asia when troop levels are increasing heavily, but also during stalemate positions between Americas and Europe. In any position as the attacker, be sure to attack with 3 dice. This increases the probability of you winning compared to the defender with only 2 dice for each roll, putting the odds in your favour. However, let's say you attack with the same number. The fact that defenders win on a draw means you already have lost this advantage, so for larger battles, the bigger the advantage for the attacker. Therefore, when playing for major positions, make sure that you are the one attacking and that you attack with 3 dice. In fact, when deciding whether or not to attack, as an attacker, the moment you have a unit advantage, you should attack due to your large statistical advantage in this situation. Of course, don't feel the need to attack each territory, but do remember that probabilities are there when doing so. And finally, human psychology. Knowing these tactics, advantages and disadvantages of each continent, and knowing where each player is attempting to go and their general strategy can become somewhat obvious after this. Australia players are very easy to pick up on early, but do look out for South America players as they can go somewhat unnoticed. This means figuring out exactly what your opponents are trying to do, as it is a pretty bad idea to start full-on warfare very early on in the game over such a small continent, as even if you win, you may expend too many resources and lose other territories when doing so. By reading each player, you can align your strategy accordingly. Of course, it's not going to be so easy that one person goes for the Americas, one for Europe and Africa, and one for Australia, and then one doing whatever they want, so be ready for friction on the way. Never overcommit to your predetermined strategy, but rather read the board and adapt it from there. If that means going in a different path, so be it. Really, your opening territories can heavily determine what kind of strategy you go for, but the key is not to be fixed in what you are doing at all times. Given that you are now a casual risk professional, a donation in the form of a like and subscribe are much appreciated.